Are we being manipulated? This week was filled with scandals, and it almost seemed like there was a coordinated effort to distract us. Let's break it down because while everyone is arguing online, something much bigger is happening that is very important we don't overlook. This all started last week with the Big Soda scandal. It was revealed that some conservative influencers were bought out by Big Soda to essentially try to take RFK Jr. down. RFK Jr. had proposed cutting sugary drinks from food stamps in order to help fight obesity and stop taxpayer money from going towards unhealthy eating. And suddenly 4 conservative influencers on X posted arguing against RFK Jr.'s proposal, and they all used quite similar arguments, and people sniffed this out and realized that they'd been paid, but they didn't disclose that fact. This was inevitable, that the same corporations that bought out legacy media, mainstream media, would try to do the same thing with independent media. And it turns out that they can be somewhat successful. They paid these influencers somewhere between a few $100s, sometimes up to around $1,000 for this post. So it turns out that yes, some conservative influencers can be bought out, and for not that much money considering. Now, the company that engaged them didn't seem to be completely transparent about the fact that they were hired allegedly by Pepsi and Coca-Cola. So these influencers maybe didn't realize exactly what they were doing, but they fell for the trick anyway. And they did not disclose at all that their posts were paid advertisements. The lesson that we have to take away from that scandal is we don't trust mainstream media, but unfortunately, independent media is not immune either. And the more independent media grows, the more likely it is to be targeted by these corporations, and we have to be very discerning in the information that we take in. So the next thing to happen 2 days later on March 24th, as many of you guys are aware, is what has been labelled as Signalgate, a signal chat between a group of people that included Mike Waltz, JD Vance, Tulsi Gabbard, Pete Hegseth, a number of others, was leaked by a journalist from The Atlantic called Jeffrey Goldberg. And the whole thing was very strange. Nobody in the team seemed to know how on earth he got into the Signal chat. And that led to an awful lot of speculation from people online saying, well, did he infiltrate the chat? He used to work for the Israeli army back in the day. Does he have connections with the CIA? Would he be able to somehow infiltrate that chat that way? Did Mike Waltz intentionally add Jeffrey Goldberg to the chat, or did Mike Waltz's assistant? Everybody in the team said, well, we don't have any contact with him. He's not in our contact list. We don't have him on our phones. We've never spoken with him. So how on earth did this happen? But immediately there were calls for Pete Hegseth to resign. This was something that was being repeated a lot. He must resign. He must resign. That in itself I found a little bit strange. Mike Waltz, or his assistant, is the one who added Jeffrey Goldberg to the chat, but that didn't seem to matter at all. That didn't seem to be the focus. It was pinpointed, laser pinpoint on Pete Hegseth. And once again, the result of that whole scandal was MAGA not knowing who to trust, questioning, are the people that are working within the Trump administration trustworthy? And again, it was just confusion and distrust. And it only got worse from there. The next scandal on March 28th involved RFK Jr. yet again. This all seemed to stem from RFK Jr. posting online, vocalizing his support for Israel. And this is something that he has been outwardly supportive of for a long time, but he faced some backlash for it. And some people basically said, stay in your lane. You're supposed to be focusing on health And that's what we expect to be hearing from you. This is what seems to have led to Candace Owens releasing a video suggesting that RFK Jr. has been blackmailed by Israel. And Ian Carroll then doubled down on this and said that he has inside sources who know about this blackmail and that a scandal is coming. I saw clips of the Candace Owens video and I saw people's summary of it, but I haven't had time to watch the whole thing. But from what I understand, there's no concrete evidence that RFK Jr. has been blackmailed. A lot of what she pointed to seems to be scandals from decades ago, stuff that people already know about. RFK Jr. has been open about the controversy in the past around his wife's suicide. He's been open about his drug addiction. He's been open about the things that he did whilst he was addicted to drugs. And so between Candace Owens and Ian Carroll, who I'm not here to insult or claim that I know any better than them, but between the two of them, it seems to be that there wasn't actually concrete evidence and that there really just seemed to be rumors. I think that their intentions are probably good, and maybe a scandal will emerge in the next few weeks. Maybe evidence of these accusations will emerge. I'll show you one clip that I did see of Candace Owens.
He felt like it was very weird that RFK had just this blind spot for Israel. It was weird to him. And he calls him out. He called him out right to his face. Skylar, let's pull that up. Dave Smith just calling out RFK Jr. for this like remarkable hypocrisy while pretending to be anti-war, but also simultaneously like unwilling to say anything about the state of Israel.
It is the worst humanitarian catastrophe in the world
you can take
right
me out
now.
Of this.
And the idea that you, who are supposed to be the anti-neocon, anti-war presidential candidate, are immediately on October 7th, before we even had an investigation, before we even knew what happened there, you immediately say, what basically you said everything they say about Ukraine. You said it was an unprovoked attack. Which, like, come on, give me a break. An attack from Gaza against Israel is unprovoked. And then you said, we have to support them in whatever it takes. Well, look, sir, we're watching it right now. This is whatever it takes. Just women and children dying under rubble. Every day you can't go on social media without seeing another video of some baby dying. This is what we're supposed, after the last 20 years of disastrous wars, we got to support the next one. And sir, this is like a biblical level of evil. And why? Why should we as Americans have to fund this? Why should we have to give them a blank check? I'm sorry. It's been long enough.
And RFK didn't have an acceptable answer.
What I personally found unconvincing about this particular clip was she didn't actually show RFK Jr.'s response. And if you watch that interview, which if I recall correctly was over an hour long with Dave Smith, RFK Jr. does not come across at all like someone who's been blackmailed into just showing support for Israel and, you know, listening to his masters, if you know what I mean. He comes across as very passionate. He argues his points based on an awful lot of knowledge of history. Dave Smith does the same thing for the other side. He has an awful lot of knowledge of the history of the whole situation, and he argues his points. And they very, very thoroughly explain their sides on it based on a ton of historical knowledge. And to me, that is just not the way someone who's been blackmailed would behave. And it's not the way I wouldn't expect to see that much passion from someone. I do think there's a good chance that RFK Jr. just has an opinion that Candace Owens doesn't agree with. All I know, again, I just look at the results and it's, okay, people, once again, within MAGA are not trusting each other. People are confused once again, and people are distracted once again. So the third time within a week that MAGA has some kind of scandal going on where everybody is confused, distracted, and not knowing who to trust. To me, that's just the part that stands out. And it's not that I don't believe there's the potential that RFK Jr. has been blackmailed. I mean, obviously, we know that politicians were blackmailed by Epstein, for example. And I do agree that the only way to address blackmail, if it is happening, is to reveal it. So we will see. But I just can't help looking at it from the perspective of what was the result of all of these scandals and controversies this week, you know? And this is where it gets even more strange for me, because every single day for the last few days, CNN has been attacking RFK Jr. and running hit pieces about him. They have every day been fear-mongering about the impact of his potential vaccine policies, criticizing him for mass firing of employees from government agencies, and just generally being very, very critical of him and what he might be doing soon. So Democrats are hearing all of that fear-mongering around him, while conservatives are listening to different messaging. But one thing is clear, both sides are kind of going after RFK Jr. at the moment. And what's also clear is that he's enough of a threat right now to Big Soda that they are paying to covertly influence MAGA. He's enough of a threat to Big Pharma for mainstream media to be bashing him on a daily basis right now. But at the same time, he's supposed to be blackmailed. And I'm not saying that he's not blackmailed, because I don't know. But I'm just observing. I'm just questioning, you know, because something about it just doesn't really add up for me. But this is the important part. Whatever ends up being true, this is what's really happening while we're distracted. For one, we are losing perspective. The truth is that the real battle isn't between influencers or fractions. It's not between each other. And the truth is that we are stronger when we unite with each other. Secondly, I think we need to take away from this week that independent media is a strength, but it's also a target. The rise of independent media is one of the greatest advantages that we have as people trying to fight governments and organizations overstepping their boundaries and trying to control us. But just like mainstream media, it will be infiltrated, it will be manipulated, and they will try to use it as a tool against us. So we just need to be aware of that. The third, possibly most important point is that Republicans are losing whilst MAGA argues. This week, Democrats flipped a state Senate seat in Lancaster County, and that happened because Republicans didn't turn out to vote. I think it was only 29% who voted. The fact is that the Democrats are organizing while the right is distracted, and the right is losing ground, and MAGA is losing ground. In a couple of days, on April 1st, Wisconsin has a very important election. This vote matters. Elon Musk has been trying to bring attention to it the same way that he tried to bring attention to the one in Pennsylvania last week, but that unfortunately didn't really work.
There are gerrymandered congressional lines right now in Wisconsin. Wisconsin's a 50-50 state, as I mentioned, but there are 6 Republicans and only 2 Democrats.
Republicans need to show up for this one because it's a very, very important one. Apparently, if you're not in Wisconsin, you can help by using the early voting app, which I'll link in the description. It enables you to text Western Wisconsin voters in 5 key counties to remind them to vote. So I wanted to make this video just to say, don't forget to engage with information, but always try to keep perspective and stay focused on the goal, stay focused on our unity with each other, because that's one of the ways that we are most powerful. And don't forget about these smaller elections, because they matter as well. What do you think about all the scandals this week? Do you think that there's something coordinated happening that is dividing MAGA, or do you think that this is just a coincidence? I'm really looking forward to hearing your thoughts, and I just want to say thank you so much for watching this video, and welcome to all of the new subscribers. I saw that there was quite a big jump, and I really appreciate your guys' support. So welcome and thank you so much, and I will see you guys next time.